Hello, loves! I've been feeling called to share this story of kind of my journey of finding safety inside and deepening into that and being more solid in this truth, and then a recent experience where I got to see a ton of my progress and learn lessons from, and I keep getting this feeling, this calling, this intuition to share that it's going to help another soul in this world, and I've had resistance to sharing this, and yeah, I'm just going to trust my intuition, which is always amazing and awesome, that it's going to support someone and I can just get over my humanness of being like, sometimes it freaks me out sharing all the parts of stories that involve blood and insides and things, so I'm going to continue to take care of myself. I was literally just like filling myself with so much love and light and good energy before this, and I'm like, cool, well, we're just gonna do the man of details so that I don't feel faint sharing the story. So with that whole preamble, if you get faint talking about things, I'll like preemptively tell you that specific part of the story. Nothing like really horrible happened, but all the humanness of being a human happened, and I have a story to share that will support someone. So I guess a little bit of context pre-frame. I chose to embody a human experience in which I had parents who were terrified of me getting hurt. So I had an extremely fearful dad, and when something would happen when I was a child and I got hurt or something happened, and when you're a child you like look to your parents to be like, are you okay? Like literally you can, it's so cute. I have a baby nephew and I can like see him looking at everything that he's doing with his parents and stuff, and I'm like, he like literally watches everything. But when we're children, we don't know how to like scan inside of ourselves and self-check and be like, how are we doing? We look at the human adult who is protecting us and is like, am I okay? So that's why like if a kid falls down, you're like, you're okay, it's okay, and you don't like panic and freak out. But I chose to incarnate with parents who freaked out. So my dad in particular, I've been doing a lot of work on rewiring my like nervous system that would be so afraid of things when I got hurt or afraid of the outside. So some like bigger parts of my life that I remember is like when I was 4, I was like playing outside for like the first time by myself, like just literally right outside the house. And like a dog from next door who like kind of like herds the horses, I was in a small town, like came over and was like jumping on me and kind of like attacking me, and my dad did not ever do chores. Like I cannot remember a time other than this time in my entire life that my dad like held the broom to like sweep and do chores, but my dad was like cleaning right at the door so that he could like hear me yell, and like already had a broom in his hand to like hit the dog off me. But that was a big moment in my life where I'm like, okay, outside danger. Like my dad freaked out. And there was another time when I was super young and I didn't want to be around a bee because I knew that like bees could sting you. So I like decided to go into the car because I was in a small town and you don't lock cars in a small town. So I went into a hot car, and then my dad like panicked and thought that I was giving myself like heat stroke and I was going to die in a hot car. And I'm like, it wasn't that long. Like, it's so interesting looking back on things and being like, that was super irrational. And I learned a bunch of not okay things, like in my nervous system of like, then getting in trouble for doing something that I didn't know was bad or wrong or dangerous. And then instead of being like, you're okay, it's okay, we're making you better, we're cooling you down in a nice cooling bath, it was like panic and like, we're putting you in this freezing cold and like putting ice on you and stuff, and like making the trauma way worse and like amplifying my fear and my nervous system being like, oh my god, death and dying, and all of this is my fault, and there's all these ways that death and dying happens. And I was molested when I was younger, and there's just like all these different things when I was younger where I got the story very much from my dad, but also just from my parents, that outside equals danger and like bad things. So it's been really interesting on my like spiritual healing journey to heal those areas that pop up, to go deeper into it. And it's super interesting because I have such a strong belief system, like I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm Canadian, and the propaganda or like the viewpoint I had of like the US and like shootings and all the things is like that there's all this like gun violence and horrible stuff in the US. So my first trip solo ever was to the US. And like literally a week later there was like a shooting on like the same streets that I had like walked. Like my cousin from another province like called my mom and was like, "Is Laura home? Oh my god, this is horrible." And she's like, "Yes, Laura's home, she's fine." But like I've had so many instances in my life where I can truly be like, I'm in the right place at the right time. Like literally I'm guided so strongly. And the more I've deepened on my spiritual path, I get intuitive hits to be in certain places or not be in certain places at certain times. And sometimes I discover later why that was a really good idea and why I got that intuitive hit. So it's been super interesting to deepen into that truth and knowing that my soul has, while also doing the work to support my human body that still will have those triggers or will have parts activate or light up. Because it's a healing journey and we spiral and keep doing different layers and like seeing it from another approach and be like, oh, this thing is way better and I'm catching it sooner, quicker, better, and having a more easeful experience. Like the freedom on the other side of it is so, so, so good and so worth it. And it's super interesting deep diving into these old patterns and ingrained things that are parts of my body. I literally jotted down a bunch of lessons because I'm like, I want to share a bunch of different pieces and I don't want to go on like an hour-long rant about all the things because I totally could. So yeah, context is I had the very deeply ingrained belief system outside equals danger, have been doing a ton of work on that. And then it's been interesting to see, especially in the last like year and a bit, people's experiences of the outside world being more dangerous and human bodies being more vulnerable, and all the fears come up, and even like truly irrational fears around some stuff that's going on in the world, because like we're not scared like, hey, we're flying through space and gravity could give way, or the sun could explode, or a volcano could explode, or a meteor could hit, or like 1,000,002 things could happen and you could die. Like there's so many different things that could happen that no one's stressed out about or worried about on a day-to-day basis, because it would be crippling. Like we have chosen to be humans, and human bodies are very vulnerable, and there can be pain and suffering and all that stuff with it. So it's normal and it's natural, and like we literally have caveman brain, like old limiting subconscious belief systems that are here to keep us safe, and like, yay, we're all still alive, yay. So like they do their job. Like our subconscious does a great job of keeping us alive, of allowing us to survive, but it truly does not give a shit if we're happy or fulfilled or feel freedom and like safe in our body. So I've been continuing to deepen and deepen and deepen into the work of feeling safe in the human body. And it's been very interesting because this has also been coming up in some of my like client sessions and stuff with some friends. So that's probably why I've been feeling called to share this message. And if this is supporting you, totally let me know in the comments that you're like, oh my god, this is great. And if you're getting gold nuggets, totally feel free to like share the gold nugget that you're getting, or like recommend it to a friend. So again, I want to stop like say a million things, and I'm probably going to do some healing down this towards the end too, because that energy is coming through, and I want to like focus and share all the story. So in doing the work to feel more and more and more safe in the human body, it's like really supportive for our nervous system. It also makes like more space and more freedom in our body and like more energy, and there's not like this thing going on in the background like playing out irrational fears or like worrying about stuff in the background. So that's super supportive. And also we can be spiritual beings and be like, whatever's beyond this is going to be awesome. And it's just like, I'm truly like excited to be a soul again, and like yay for when my soul contracts and all the things here are completed, and that's good. But there's a number of people in the spiritual community who are like, yes, whatever's on the other side of this is great and wonderful and awesome and happy, and we're very scared or nervous or frightened or have our human shit around what's that experience going to be like. We don't want to have suffering or a ton of dis-ease or pain or all the horrible things that could potentially happen that lead to our ending of our time as being a human on this planet into another. So it's been interesting going deeper into those things and healing like past life trauma. And that's also been a big thing in terms of me doing the work to create a really super strong, solid foundation and growing and expanding as like a spiritual leader on this planet, to be open and available to more eyes on me, to more haters, to potential death threats and all the other things that sometimes happen when people make huge changes on the planet. So I've been really focused on doing a ton of that work to continue to ground myself. I've been doing a ton of work on past life stuff around like being burnt at the stake and being killed for your beliefs and being killed for trying to make the world better and helping people and making all those things, and prosecution and all the bad stuff around that. So it doesn't surprise me that little stuff has been coming up to like activate all of the different parts of me that I get to address and heal and then be super grounded in, so that I can support my clients with it and other people who are coming to me who also have these parts that get activated and feel scared. Yeah, there's like a million things. So I'll do a couple of downloads now because there's some stuff coming through, and then we'll get back to the story. So do you want to clear, release, and let go of all the stuff that's been coming to the surface for you around fear of being attacked, shamed, victimized, prosecuted, being hurt, raped, burnt, any and all past life trauma and triggers around that? And if you'd like to clear, release, and let go of all the stuff that's been coming up, you can say yes, and just take some deep breaths with that. I'm just doing some theta healing downloads so we can clear this junk out of your subconscious as it's like kind of coming to your surface as I talk. And you want to know what it looks like and feels like to feel safe in your body, to give yourself permission to find safety within you and inside of you, and to clear, release, and let go of any and all of your attachments to the illusions of safety that you had outside of you that you might have been giving your power away to. And if you would like that, you can say yes. Okay, and breathe, take some deep breaths, drink some water. If you want to share any body sensations of how that's feeling, you can totally do that. And like love on any of your parts like that are freaking out right now, that are like, oh my god, this is a thing, this is resonating with me, I have a thing that I'm scared of. Just love yourself. Okay, so in doing all of this work, it was super interesting that last week I was getting STI tested, and part of it is like getting your blood tested, and I've always been totally fine giving blood. Like, I don't look at it, and I kind of preface like, hey, I like faint if you talk about stuff, but I've never ever fainted giving blood, or getting any kind of blood work done. So in this experience, I was COVID times with a mask, with a nurse with a mask, and she was like in the energy of being nervous of hurting me. Like when it poked in, I was like, oh yeah, that's totally fine. Like literally didn't hurt. Like I'm like, it's like a 0.5 on a scale of 1 to 10. It does not hurt. But I don't look at it because I don't want to see what's going on. So she was like talking about how when she was like doing this, that it would hurt for her when they would like change out the tubes to get like a different tube. So then she like changed the thing, and she was like, how was that? Is that okay? And I'm like, yeah, that was totally fine. Like, I'm like, I really didn't notice that one. Like, I was like, it's totally fine. So then she kept like talking about things, and then she like hit the tube, like hit it, and then started being like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, and like, oh my gosh, and I've never done that before, and like she started like panicking and freaking out. And I like literally was looking at the wall, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, because all of a sudden it hurt a lot, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if like something just got ripped out, or like a vein, or don't know what the fuck's happening. And like, anyone who feels faint, breathe. I was starting to like tell a friend about this. She's like, oh my god, I freak out about this stuff too. She's like, little bits of details, not many details. But yeah, I'm here a week later, I'm totally fine. Like, I have a teeny bruise left over. Like, I'm fine. But I literally made the conscious decision not to look. I was like, oh my god, I can't look at this. And the other very interesting thing is that recently I've been called to watch Grey's Anatomy. So literally when it came out, I was like, yay, this is so awesome. And then there was 2 specific instances in watching that show where I felt faint. And then even if I was like later totally fine and then thought about what I had seen, felt faint. And I was like, okay, I can't do this. This isn't great. But I kind of felt like really called to watching Grey's Anatomy, and I was like, okay, this is cool. I'll like titrate myself into it. Like, I'll have little bits and things, and then I would mostly fast forward through them like doing surgery. But I'm like, wow, I'm like able to watch a fair amount of this, like way more than I used to be able to without being like, oh my god, this is terrible and horrible. So I'm also like super grateful that I've been feeling called to do that, because one of my superpowers is also like helping clients who have dis-ease or chronic issues or herpes or all these different things where it's like they have something that's showing up within themselves, and I get to like see it for exactly where it is, clear out the root, and like support them with it. Disclaimer, I can't like, disclaimer, I do not diagnose things and I'm not a doctor, blah blah blah, but I can connect you with some clients who might say really awesome, amazing things about the work I've done. So I know that within the Theta Healing curriculum and all the different Theta Healing courses that exist in the world, there's one that goes really deep. Like, I think it's like a 3-week course. There's intuitive anatomy, and then there's disease and disorder. So I'm like, holy shit, I could get like really deep in these things taking these courses, but I'm like, I literally faint talking about these things. It's not like seeing the things as much as like talking it and feeling it and like getting all that stuff. So I'm like, cool, maybe all of this stuff will like titrate me into being able to take those courses one day. Okay. So yeah, getting back to the story of the thing. So I chose not to look. I like gave my power to her, to an outside system, because she was the person of authority. She's the expert in the room. She's the professional who's in charge of the thing that's in my arm area right now. So she was freaking out and panicked. I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I've never done this before. And like her energy was like so chaotic, and then started putting me in fight mode. So I was in like my flight response of being like, I don't want to be here. Oh my god, what's happening? Like, I'm not going to look at the thing. This really hurts now. So yeah, it was not great, the things that she was saying, and I was like, really, this is happening right now? Like, she's just panicking and freaking out on me. Cool. So it's interesting because I was starting to feel faint, and I was just like, I want her to wrap it up. Like, I want her to like put the little cotton ball tape on me and like be like, okay, you can leave now. Like, I wanted to like get the fuck out of there. And then I was like, okay, well, my vision's starting to go. So I'm like, I'm now in the, like, I'm feeling faint part. So then I was like, I'm feeling faint right now. Started to, like, put my head down so that I could, like, breathe. And she's like, do you want a cold compress? And I'm like, sure. Like, she's like, do you want juice? And, like, was trying to help me. And she was feeling really bad. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. And it's interesting because I totally did like a whole healing session last week with my healer about this, that I was able to kind of like be in my witness around what was going on. And part of the thing that I was catching myself like was allowing myself to receive and be taken care of, because literally I was in flight response where I'm like, I wanted to leave, which I couldn't. So then I like literally was just like leaving the experience because my body was like, let's just shut down. I'm being flooded by all this stuff and I don't want to be dealing with this. So I didn't actually faint, which is a win. I was able to take care of myself and receive support being taken care of. But it was like a huge win for me that I had my witness on and that I was seeing this, and that there'd be like thoughts that would come up where I was like, oh, I don't want to be a bug, or like I feel silly about this, but I'm like, literally, she fucking did this. You can let her take care of you and like receive the juice and whatever she's gonna offer. So I didn't say those things. I was like super proud of myself that I like caught it as this was happening, even though I was in like a very much triggered, unresourced space where I was like, my eyesight's going and like I can't hear as much anymore. I'm like shutting down. I'm gonna pass out. So that was a huge win. Yay! Celebrating me that I was able to like keep my witness on and like take care of myself as that was happening. And then it was interesting because when I was with my healer about it, she was asking why I didn't just like, because then like the doctor came in and was like, let's get you over to the bed and lay down. And I was like, sure, okay. She asked why I didn't just say, I started freaking out because she was freaking out. Like, I was protecting her. And at first glance, I was like, I guess I was people pleasing. Like, I didn't want to get her in trouble. I didn't want her to feel even worse than she already did. Like, I'm a fucking empath. Like, I'm a reflector who's an empath. I was feeling how horrible she was feeling. And she's like, yeah, but like, her literal only job is to like take your blood and not hurt you and not like hit it and like cause you more pain. And to like then take responsibility for being like, oh, this is what happened and this is probably what's making her freak out. Because I also like, she was saying things like, at least you don't have like a hematoma. And I'm like, what's a hematoma? And like, she was just saying all these things when this was happening that was making me like panic and freak out that something really horrible was happening to my arm. While I was like not looking and she was panicking. And I was like, okay. So one thing I learned from that experience was that we were both in chaos energy, that she went into like panic freak out mode because she was feeling bad that she caused me more pain. And I went into chaos mode because I was going into like hypochondriac back from when I was a kid, just freaking out that all these horrible things were going to happen and I was like going to suffer and bleed out and die. And like horrible things happened, or like a blood clot or an air bubble, or like horrible things just were like in my brain, which is what was causing me to feel faint. And that was the reason I was feeling faint, not because I didn't eat beforehand, not because I had worked out crazy, like, because when the doctor came in, he was like trying to like figure out what was going on, and I wasn't saying like, she hit it and then it really hurt and then I panicked because she was really panicking. So she's like, why were you protecting her? Like, because I have a history of people pleasing and protecting other people and taking care of other people. So she's like, interesting that that pattern came up. Why did that happen? And when we were like digging into it deeper, I was like, oh my God, I didn't want her to get angry at me. Like, I was not saying like, oh, well, she kind of like hit the thing. So that she would continue to take care of me, because I'm like, well, for a while I was in a room alone with her as I was starting to panic, so I didn't want to like get angry or blame her. And then like she was the one who like went to get the juice, and like she was the one who was helping to take care of me as my system was trying to shut down. So she's like, awesome, that's amazing resilience, because when I was a child I learned that the fawn trauma response was a more supportive one for me to have, where even though my dad was an asshole and abusive and not great, it's like, well, we would try to make him good. And that would be a huge like saying with my family of like, we don't want to make it worse for my mom, we don't want to make it worse for us. Like, we would do things to support my dad and to like make his life better and his world better and not to feel bad about things and stuff, like really crazy, go out of our way and like walk on eggshells so that it wouldn't be worse for us. So she's like, oh, that's super interesting, because I didn't want the person who was getting me the cold compress and the juice and trying to take care of me to then be mad at me, or for it to be worse for me in some way, that she like wouldn't get something that's supportive, or like take forever getting the juice or spit in it or something like that. So she's like, awesome, you were super resilient, you found a way to take care of yourself and her, win. So I'm like, there were so many wins from this whole experience. Which I truly believe that the universe teaches you all the lessons and then shows you an experience of, look how far you've come and look at the areas that you can still learn and grow and heal from, versus some people's perspective where they're like, the universe tests me and it's just so hard, and I'm just getting tested by the universe, and like the universe is against you kind of thing. If that's your viewpoint and you want to stick with it, you're welcome to do so. I feel the more supportive one is like, it supports us, and then it like shows us how awesome we've been, and then like there's still some things to learn, and then we get to keep growing and healing and expanding from that. Okay, so back to the lessons of all the things. And I literally like wrote down a ton of things that have been supportive to other people hearing it, so I wanted to make sure that I could impart these lessons, because I don't want you guys to experience negative medical experiences, to learn these lessons yourself, if at all possible. Because I would have rather gotten some healing downloads on it and learned from someone else's story rather than gone through it myself, but also it wasn't that bad and I'm fine. Okay, so the giving my power away of, I didn't look, because if I just looked over, I'd be like, oh, it just got bumped, not like, oh my god, it's like tearing through my skin and it got pushed so hard in my, like, or whatever all the bad stories were in my head. So allowing myself to take space in the future, things that I'm learning for a future, is to check in, because if I had just taken space to check in, but from childhood, I would look outward, and looking outward, I had a parent freaking out in like all the ways that I was about to die, and like horrible pain and horrible things. So my system went into that pattern of something happened, look to the person who is the adult, who's the authority, they're fucking freaking out, that means I should freak out. So my system went into that. But in the future, I get to course correct and be like, okay, this is what's happening, and tune in and be like, I'm fine. Nothing's on red alert here. Yes, my arm hurts, but it's not like a 10 out of 10. Like, my arm wasn't hurting that much. I was just like freaking out because she was freaking out. And talking about the energetics of it, it was very easy to see that I was in chaos energy, feeding off of her chaos energy. So she was in her own spiral around like making a mistake or hurting me more than she had intended, and like, I've never done this before, and like she was going in her whole story. So she was living in a totally different reality where she was freaking out because of herself. I was living in a reality where I'm like, oh my god, she just did something that's gonna like create huge suffering or kill me or like something horrible. Making the story based off of her reactions. So the learning I have from that is that in the future I get to tune into myself and be like, I'm fine. And also like support that child and parts of myself and the like little parts that got activated to be like, you're okay, it's okay. And like me speak to the child inside of me like I want it to talk to me, because I'm like, why didn't she just say, are you okay? And then my second thing is I get to step into my like masculine power and create a container, even when I'm in the not responsible authority space, of just asking questions and being like, am I okay? Am I gonna die from this? Because then she would have grounded into, yeah, you're okay. No, you're not gonna die. Yes, everything's fine. And like that could have supported it and grounded it, and then I wouldn't have kept going into this flight mode within myself, trying to shut down my system and pass out. So it was an amazing lesson. What else did I have as really cool lessons that I learned from this? In the future looking, that's going to be something that I like baby step into, of like looking when people will draw blood instead of like freaking the fuck out, because there's growth there. Oh, and it was also cool that I got to like kind of share part of the story with my family and my nephew's parents, to be like, hey, you know how dad did this and like would freak the fuck out? Literally how I learned how to drive was like, here's all the ways that this could kill everyone. Like, not like, hey, when you're coming up to this turn, slow down, being like, you took that turn too fast, and if someone was there, blah, 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 this is how they would die. If there was ice there, blah, 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 this is how you would die, and then they would die, and like, all the ways that death would happen. So I'm like, like, you know how dad would do those things? These are better ways to do it, and also, my nephew is totally gonna look to you as external things for when things hurt. So Like my brother passes out, he feels faint when he gets his blood taken, so I'm like, so something that I learned was when my nephew hurts himself, just be like, you're okay, it's okay, and like support him with those things instead of like panicking and freaking out, and like you can take care of yourself as the adult there and make the child feel safe. So I'm like, yay, lessons. Okay. Okay, and then like all the lessons when I was there and then the lessons that I had when I left. So yeah, huge win was allowing myself to receive help, because I totally did want to like just get the fuck out of there. But I'm like, I'm in my feminine. I'm allowed to receive. I'm allowed to receive. And I'm allowed to receive. And I kept doing that. Okay, and then when I finally was able to leave and I was feeling good again and very grounded, I was able to like find ways to quickly resource on the way home, and like I live downtown, so I'm able to like just walk from where it is to where my house is. And it's in a like not great part of town necessarily to like be in, so I wasn't gonna like leave that space and then immediately do work on myself. Like I was just like, I want to get home. So I was like, I'm just gonna listen to music on my phone and just like focus on getting home. But I also have a list on my cell phone in my notes that's all the things to do if I'm not resourced. Like if I'm triggered or if something happens, I can literally go there. So that's a super amazing thing that I like recommend to so many of my clients to have on your phone, or like a piece of paper that you like originally write them out and then take a picture of it so you have it on your phone, so that you can be like, okay, if I'm in an unresourced space and I need help, then I'll like go to this and it'll be like, you can do breath work, you can listen to music, you can listen to a guided meditation that tells you about safety. If you're home, you can do these things, all this self-care stuff that you can do totally for free, all the self-care stuff that you can do by yourself, things that you can do process-wise, like all my different tools are in there. People to reach out to, like people that I like love and they'll just be great to like be there and talk, people that I can reach out to, like that I've hired and like are coaches or healers that I can be like, hey, I'm unresourced, can I have some healing downloads, or like some things that will support me, and then some things that like aren't necessarily in the moment to support me but can be supportive like once I've done some of those things, like going for a walk or doing yoga or laying down or doing breath work or hitting a pillow or releasing the energy, or like tapping or like holding that part and saying shh and just like calming it. Like I have a ton of those things written down so that I can lean into like the top couple ones are the ones that I tend to utilize the most. And then I like literally have so many things. I'm like self-pleasure practice, watching porn, like a million things, like watching cute videos of my nephew on my phone. Like I have so many things so that I can like look at it and be like, what can I do? And then do that thing and be like, okay, that feels better. What else can I do? What else can I do? And like keep doing that to fill me back up so that I'm supported. And then I have things that are like further down that might involve someone else, that could be like slightly long term, like book a massage or book a chiro appointment or like do something that can't necessarily be done in the moment but is something that my body does need and it might be asking for. So I highly recommend having lists like that. It can literally be a lifesaver when you're like, I'm triggered or I'm unresourced and I need to like see, oh yeah, I have all these things, because sometimes in the moment we forget and we don't have all of our brain capacity to be like, oh yeah, all this stuff, because when we're emotional we don't have as much access to all of our intelligence, and that's just how human life is. Okay. So then once I did get home and I felt safe and home, then I did like a quick process of like going inside of my body, and this is something that I really wanted to share, and finding the safe space inside of you. So ideally do this work right after I get off here, or you can even kind of start to tune into it depending on like how good you are at tuning to yourself while listening to stuff. Some people can do it, I'm sure. But it was so powerful for me, like on a Reiki table, doing deep breath, feeling into it to be like, where's my safe space in my body? Like, where do I already have safe space in my body? And finding those places within my body that already feel safe. And then so the process that I went through was like being in the safe space with my Reiki master on the table, being like, where's the safe space in your body? And then talking about a triggering moment or a fearful thought or something from my childhood, and seeing where that gets lit up within myself of like, oh, there's this part here and there's this energy here and there's this like thing in my stomach, and then it like shoots to my head, and like this is how the energy moves, and noticing that they're there and like allowing them to be witnessed, and then inviting them to go into that safe space so that they have permission to go there. So I really, really, really recommend that, because literally when I got home, I was like, okay, here's my safe space. And then I literally focused on like my arm, feeling safe going there, the parts of me that were like freaking out going there. And it felt very calming. It was like so good to just be able to offer that to myself, to have that safety inside of me, and to give the other parts that were freaking out and that were little child parts permission to go there. So I did that. That felt really good. And then I also just did Reiki on my arm because I'm like, this still hurts, and I'm kind of freaked out to look at it. So yeah, then I just did a bunch of Reiki clearings on my arm, and then it like was feeling better. And then I talked to a friend, because talking to a friend is one of my things that allows me to get more resourced. So I did all the things to take care of myself, and it was super interesting because even during that whole process, like even when I was like in the clinic and like having that experience, I'm like, huh, like, of course, I've been doing all of this work, and look at me doing way better than I would have before, and holy shit, I'm just acting different than I would have 3 months ago version of me. And also, look at the things I still get to heal, and like mental notes of things to bring up in my next healing session, which I did. And then I got all this new information, and also ways to celebrate myself for all that amazing expansion and huge steps forwards that I had taken from previous versions of myself. So, more downloads that were coming through on that. So just take some deep breaths. Do you want to know what it looks like and feels like to feel safe within yourself? That you can find that place within yourself, and that you can also allow yourself even deeper permission to return here, regardless of what's going on outside, even when things in the external world seem fun and peaceful and good, that you can always have total and complete permission to feel the safety inside of yourself. And that also, when times feel more chaotic or stressful, or you have anxiety or stressor or trigger come up, that you can be resourced in that moment to offer this safety to those parts. You can connect back into this safety inside of yourself, and that you can be even more resourced moving forward with the safety inside of you. And if you would like all of that, you can say yes. That feels big for some people, so you can also like put your hand on any part that like might be activated in this, and just breathe. And do you want to know that you're worthy and deserving of feeling safe inside of your body? And that you know who you are and what your life looks like having this safety inside of you. And that you can clearly release and let go of any and all unhealthy or toxic patterns of trying to find safety in an external source, trying to find safety from outside of you, or getting stuck in an illusion around what safety is or what security is. You can clearly release and let go of any and all unhealthy attachments to that aren't serving you, and that you can see from your higher power's perspective how you can move forward with even more ease, speed, grace, joy, and love, and grounding yourself into the truth that you're always safe and secure, that you're watched over and protected, and that you can truly self-resource your safety, your certainty, and feeling your most optimal health as a human in this experience. And if you would like all of that, you can say yes. And you want to forgive yourself completely on all levels for any and all times that you've given your power away, any and all times where you wanted to be better, you tried hard and it didn't quite work, or you feel like you should have done better, or you should have acted differently, or you should have had a different response to something, but you were in an unresourced or triggered space. That you can forgive yourself on all levels for any and all reactions you've had, any and all like trauma responses you've had, and that you can also forgive others who triggered that within you, who put that into your nervous system, that you can truly see from your higher power's perspective what lessons you were trying to learn through that, and allow those lessons that are ready to be marked as complete now, and that you can give yourself total and complete permission to forgive yourself on all levels, and also forgive anyone else who is an actor on your stage supporting you in learning that lesson. That you can have this freedom and this clean slate and moving forward. And if you'd like that, you can say yes. And a note on forgiveness for anyone who's feeling kind of sticky on that piece. Forgiveness is a gift that you give yourself. Forgiveness is you no longer having this charge on the thing. It's that I'm not going to drink poison hoping it's going to hurt someone else. It does not mean that you have to like go to someone who did something horrible to you, or your parents who instilled traumatic things into you, like, and go and consciously go say, I forgive you to them. Like, you don't have to do that piece unless you're feeling super called to doing that piece, and then that might be a good step on your journey. But what this download is and what it means is that you're forgiving within yourself, so you have a clean slate, so that energy isn't holding you back and like hurting you right now. So if you would like that download, you can say yes. Do you want to cut any and all cords, contracts, vows, commitments, bonds, oaths, or obligations to learning lessons the hard way, the painful way, or suffering through life, and any stories around that you can clear, release, and let go of those? And if you'd like that, you can say yes. Beautiful. Just keep breathing. Lots of energy shifting there. And then we can integrate all of those changes, and I can offer you general healing for any and all other areas of your body, life, and business that are ready to be healed right now, and fill you up with your higher power's unconditional love, compassion, peace, and prosperity. And if you would like that, you can say yes. And take some deep cleansing breaths. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. Sending you so much love. Good job for doing all this work. You're so beautiful. I love you. Oh, and Esther, thank you for the heart. So yeah, if you feel called to sharing any body sensations, how that's feeling in your body now, totally welcome that. Also totally drink lots of water to support the healing and clearings. And also totally feel free to share this with any friends who've been feeling unsafe, who've been putting their safety into things outside of them that aren't permanent, that aren't necessarily real. Like, there's been so many constructs that we have where it's like, oh yeah, I'll put my safety in money, or the fact that I have a house, or the fact that I have this insurance policy, or another person, or my parents, or my partner, or something outside of you. And while you can be supported by all those things and receive support from those things, there's no guarantee that you're going to be totally fine just because you have that. So it's lovely to be supported, and it's wonderful that we're humans and we've co-created this reality. So sometimes some illusions make us feel happy, but then if those go away and we don't have the foundations built up inside of us, not great stuff can occur in our human experience. So totally recommend doing that piece of finding that safety inside of you. Like, take literally 2 minutes after this, just breathe, drop in, ground your body, and just ask where there's safety already in your body and let that be shown to you. And you might have a couple different places in your body, and that can be it. That can be like, beautiful practice, honor yourself, celebrate yourself for taking care of yourself. And then if you're like, ooh, I do feel really called to this, there have been parts of me that have been very feeling unsafe with the world, with what's been going on in the world, with all the uncertainty that could be happening in the world, and blah, blah, blah. Then you can think of those fearful thoughts or what's going on and just like being with them and seeing where they're showing up in your life. And then if you feel called, inviting them to go into that safe space so that they can feel safety within your body and that you can keep growing this and doing this work and deepen into it. So sending you so much love doing that process, and also honoring you so deeply for doing this like big work in the world. Like, so many people are scared to face this and like the hallucinations of what might be safe outside of themselves and don't want to face how vulnerable we are as humans, and that we chose to incarnate as humans at this time, at this place in life where there are a lot of uncertainties and a lot of things that aren't safe in the outside world. And we get to keep coming back to our home, that we're safe inside of ourselves, that we can like trust in our soul, that we know that we're divinely protected and safe and secure and watched over, and all of those beautiful practices, and super guided and supported and loved, and we are love and we are oneness, and all of those amazing truths. So we get to like keep grounding in that and supporting our nervous system to keep coming into those truths instead of having the old triggers or traumatic responses or nervous system not fun things. So I so send you so much love as you embark on this journey. If you're feeling called to going even deeper on this journey, I'd love to chat with some people who want to go even deeper. I also have resources for other people who love to literally support people with this exact part on their journey. So sending you so much love in any and all ways you feel called to carry this work forward, and I'm sending you all so much love. Like, literally, I'm so grateful I did this live. Like, I was feeling so much resistance to doing this, and just like feeling into the energy of like how much better the energy feels after a lot of those downloads. Especially, I'm very grateful I did this. So I'm sending you so much love for showing up and doing this, for listening to this, for saying yes to the downloads, for moving forward and moving yourself and humanity forward. Like, thank you so much for being the change, because we all get to be the change in the world, and we all get to be continually more healed and more happy and more fulfilled humans. So sending you so much love. Thank you so much for doing this work, and I hope you have an amazing evening. Bye.